You are 19 years old from Seville, and you have always looked west, wondering what lies beyond the edge of the world. Your father hammers iron before dawn. Your mother prays for you every morning. This small life is all you have ever known, but it has never been enough. A royal messenger rides through your street shouting one name, Hernán Cortés, and your entire future changes in that moment. Your mother does not say do not go, she just holds your hand longer than usual, and that says everything. You sign your name on the recruitment list and your hand barely shakes, because you have never wanted anything more in your life. 11 ships stretch across the harbor as far as you can see, and for the first time you realize how enormous this truly is. Below deck you meet Pedro, loud, fearless, and already your favorite person on this ship. 3 days in a storm hits, and you grip a rope and pray harder than you ever have in your life. By morning the storm has passed, and sitting on the wet deck you feel more alone than you ever have in your life. Someone shouts land, and when you push to the railing and see that dark green coastline, your entire understanding of the world cracks open. Cortés gives a speech about God, gold, and glory, and then he orders something that stops every man cold. The ships are burning. There is no going home now. The jungle swallows you whole, hot, loud, and impossibly alive in ways Spain never prepared you for. They watch you from the tree line in perfect silence, and your hand moves slowly to your sword. She stands between two civilizations and holds them together with nothing but words, and you wonder what she truly thinks of all of you. The first Aztec city stops you dead. Pyramids, markets, thousands of people, more organized than anything you have ever seen in Spain. Cortés is not just a soldier, he is turning the Aztecs' own enemies into his army, one tribe at a time. Thousands of warriors pour out of the jungle and your training takes over, because your mind is too terrified to think. When the battle ends you are standing in a field of silence, hands shaking, wondering how you are still breathing. That night you help bury a boy of 17 whose name you never learned well enough, and you sit by the fire for a long time after. Pedro sits beside you without saying anything, and breaks his last piece of bread in half without being asked. Your boots fall apart on the third week, and you wrap your feet in cloth and keep marching because there is no other option. You watch a ceremony on a hilltop temple and your Catholic upbringing has no words for what you are seeing. 2 men are hanged for plotting against Cortés, and the message to everyone watching is crystal clear. Lying in the dirt thousands of miles from home, you are no longer sure what glory even means. The Tlaxcalans fought you for days, and then walked into your camp as allies, because they hate the Aztecs far more than they fear you. What happens in Cholula is not war, and you stand at the edge of it unable to move. You were told this expedition was for God, but you are not sure God was present in that plaza today. And then you see it, rising from the center of a lake, the greatest city in the world, and your mouth falls open. You march into the greatest city on earth and thousands of people watch in complete silence, and somehow that is more frightening than anything you have faced. The city is breathtaking, and you walk through it with your hand on your sword because beauty this powerful always hides something. Cortés takes Emperor Moctezuma hostage inside his own palace, and you are one of the guards assigned to watch him. Every morning you wonder if today is the day the city finally breaks open around you. While Cortés is gone, his lieutenant massacres hundreds of Aztec nobles at a festival, and the city explodes overnight. You are surrounded on every side, the food is running out, and for the first time you genuinely believe you might not survive this. You helped carry his body, and felt something you could not name. Pity perhaps, or shame. You drop everything and run, because the lake is swallowing men whole and gold means nothing if you are dead. 600 men died that night, and sitting on the muddy bank at dawn you watch Cortés weep for the first time. Cortés stands up, wipes his face, and starts giving orders, and somehow watching him refuse to break makes something harden inside you too. Cortés has ships built in pieces and carried over mountains, and you have stopped being surprised by impossible things. The night before the final siege you think about your mother's hands, and wonder if she would recognize the person you have become. At dawn the lake erupts with ships and cannons and war cries, and you march forward because there is nothing left to do but march. Every street is a trap, warriors on the rooftops, warriors in the canals. You move back to back and trust the men beside you with your life. Pedro goes down on the third day, and you hold his hand until the sun goes down and he stops talking about his mother. The disease you carried without knowing it kills more people than every sword and cannon combined. Entire streets fall silent overnight. Block by block the city falls, and every inch of it has cost something you cannot get back. When Cuauhtémoc is captured the fighting stops almost immediately, and a silence falls over the ruined city that you will never forget. You won. You are alive, and standing in the ruins of the greatest city in the world, you feel nothing that resembles triumph. Of the 500 men who burned their ships on that beach, fewer than 200 made it here. Pedro is not one of them. Cortés declares the new capital of New Spain, and you watch one world end and another begin on the same ground. You see Aztec elders watching from the shadows of the new city, and their eyes carry something ancient and wounded that stays with you. You stare at a blank page for a long time, and in the end you write only 3 things: I am alive, I am coming home, I love you. You came here as a boy from Seville who had never seen the ocean. You leave as something else entirely. The Atlantic feels different going home. Quieter, heavier, because you are carrying things that have no weight but never leave you. Seville appears on the horizon, and instead of relief you feel like a stranger arriving in a foreign country. Your mother opens the door and just stares at you, and then grabs you and holds on like she will never let go again. You sleep in your old bed, but you cannot rest. Your body is still waiting for a danger that never comes. People ask you about gold and monsters, but you keep telling them about the floating gardens and the sound the city made before it fell. They call it a conquest. You call it something harder to name, something you carried every single day for the rest of your life. You were not a hero. You were not a villain. You were a boy from Seville who said yes, and carried the weight of that answer for the rest of your life.